"He thinks you're undervaluing yourself," she said, then took $2,500 from our account without telling me, and that's when everything unraveled. I'd been building my wedding photography business for 5 years when Sarah first mentioned Richard Hayes. We were having dinner at our usual spot when she brought up the bank statement again. "Michael, we need to talk about this," she said, sliding the paper across the table. "$2,800 last month, that's it." I set down my fork. It was a slow month. Wedding season picks up in. "My marketing salary is literally double what you made." Her voice carried that edge I'd been hearing more often lately. "Do you know how embarrassing it is when my colleagues ask what my boyfriend does?" Something twisted in my chest. "Embarrassing? You know what I mean." She softened slightly, reaching for my hand. I went to business school, Michael. I see potential in what you do, but you're thinking too small." That's when she mentioned him. Richard Hayes, divorced, mid-40s, some kind of investment consultant. He'd been a client at a wedding I'd shot 6 months earlier, the bride's uncle who'd made casual conversation about business opportunities. "He specifically asked about you," Sarah continued. "Said he was impressed with your work ethic. He deals with creative businesses all the time." I remembered Richard vaguely. Expensive suit, loud laugh, the type who name-dropped his golf buddies. "What kind of opportunities?" "Expansion, real growth." Her eyes lit up in a way they hadn't when discussing my work in months. "He's talking about helping photographers scale up, bigger venues, corporate events, maybe even commercial work." The idea wasn't entirely unappealing. I'd been considering expanding beyond weddings, but something about Sarah's sudden enthusiasm felt off. She'd never shown interest in the business side of my work before. "I should meet with him directly," I said. "If he's serious about investing." "Actually," she interrupted, "I already set up a preliminary meeting, just to explore options. He's taking me to lunch tomorrow to discuss your portfolio." "Wait, what?" "Sarah, this is my business. I need to be there for any discussions about Michael." Her tone shifted, becoming patient in that way that made me feel like a child. "I understand the business side better than you do. I can ask the right questions about investment structures, growth projections, that kind of thing. You know how you get when people talk numbers." There it was again, how I get. Like I was some artistic dreamer who couldn't handle adult conversations about my own company. "I don't get any way," I said, feeling heat rise in my chest. "It's my business, Sarah. I should be part of any conversation about its future." She squeezed my hand, her voice dropping to that soothing register she used when she thought I was being unreasonable. "Of course you should be involved eventually. But Richard suggested starting with someone who speaks his language. Just this once, let me handle the preliminary stuff. I promise I'll tell you everything." The way she said it, like she was doing me a favor by taking over, made something shift inside me. But I also knew that pushing further would lead to one of those circular arguments where I'd end up apologizing for not appreciating her help. "Fine," I said. "But I want to know exactly what he says." The next evening, Sarah came home glowing. The lunch had gone incredibly well. Richard was very impressed with my portfolio and had serious ideas about expansion. They'd need to meet again to discuss specifics. "Again?" I asked. "These things take time, Michael. He's not just throwing money around, he's being strategic." She was already checking her phone. "He's sending me some market research to review before our next meeting." Our next meeting. I noticed the phrasing but didn't push. Over the following weeks, the meetings became regular. Always lunch, always just the two of them, always with some reasonable explanation about preliminary discussions and market analysis. Sarah would return with updates about Richard's vision for my business, his connections in the industry, his thoughts on my pricing structure. "He thinks you're undervaluing yourself," she'd say, showing me notes on her phone. "He's right, you know, you're too nice to charge what you're worth." She wasn't wrong. I had been undercharging, and some of Richard's suggestions, at least the ones Sarah relayed, made sense. But these weren't my conversations about my business. They were Sarah's conversations about my business. Then came the afternoon I was editing photos at a coffee shop downtown when I saw them through the window of the restaurant across the street. Sarah and Richard, sitting close together at a corner table. Her hand was on his arm, and she was laughing at something he'd said, the kind of laugh she used to save for me. I watched them for 10 minutes, telling myself it was just business, just networking, just Sarah being charming to secure opportunities for us. But when she came home that evening, she didn't mention seeing Richard at all. "How was your day?" I asked, testing. "Boring meetings at the office," she said, not looking up from her phone. "You know how it is." I knew then that something had fundamentally changed. Sarah was lying to me about Richard Hayes, and whatever they were building together had nothing to do with my photography business. That night, lying in bed beside her, I stared at the ceiling and wondered when supporting my passion had become something my girlfriend needed to outsource to another man, and why she felt the need to lie about it. The next morning, I found myself staring at my camera equipment, wondering if I'd been too trusting, too willing to let someone else navigate the business side of my life. Sarah's meetings with Richard weren't about helping me grow, they were about something else entirely. Something shifted in me that morning. I wasn't going to sit back and let other people make decisions about my future anymore. The first thing I did was check our joint account online. Sarah had been handling most of our shared expenses lately, claiming it was more efficient since she was better with money management. What I found made my stomach drop. 3 withdrawals in the past 2 weeks, $500, $800, $1,200, all marked as business investment RH Consulting. I stared at the screen, my coffee growing cold. RH Consulting, Richard Hayes. When Sarah came home that evening, I was waiting at the kitchen table with my laptop open. "We need to talk," I said, turning the screen toward her. She glanced at the bank statement, and for just a moment I saw something flicker across her face. Then her expression smoothed into that patient smile I'd grown to hate. "Oh, that. I was going to tell you about it tonight." She set down her purse, moving with deliberate calm. "Richard found some incredible investment opportunities, short-term, high-return stuff. I figured we should jump on it while we could." "You figured?" I kept my voice level. "Sarah, that's $2,500 from our joint account. You didn't even ask me." "Because I knew you'd overthink it." She sat across from me, leaning forward with that earnest expression she used when she wanted me to feel unreasonable. "Michael, this is exactly what I'm talking about. You're so risk-averse that you'd rather stay small than take the chances that could actually grow your business. This isn't about risk tolerance. This is about you making financial decisions without consulting me. I'm consulting you now." "After you already spent the money," she sighed, running her hands through her hair. "Look, I know it seems like a lot, but Richard explained the whole structure to me. These are the kinds of investments that people like him use to build real wealth, not just scraping by month to month like we have been. People like him, not people like us, people like him. What exactly did he invest our money in?" "It's complicated," she said, her phone buzzing on the table. She glanced at it and I caught a glimpse of the message preview. "Tell him it's standard market positioning." She quickly flipped the phone face down. "But he sent me all the documentation, portfolio diversification, market positioning, growth projections." I watched her fingers drum nervously against the table. "I want to see the documentation." "Of course." She kept her phone face down. "I'll forward you everything. But honestly, Michael, I need you to trust me on this. I'm doing everything I can to not let us drown financially, and you're acting like I'm cheating or something." Her voice cracked slightly on the last word, and for a moment I saw something vulnerable underneath the defensive anger. Fear, maybe, or desperation. "I'm not accusing you of cheating," I said carefully. "But I saw you with him yesterday. At Meridian during lunch, you told me you were at boring office meetings." The color drained from her face. "So you're spying on me now?" "I was editing photos at the coffee shop across the street. I happened to look up and see my girlfriend having what looked like a very intimate lunch with her business partner." "Intimate?" She laughed, but it sounded forced. "Michael, we were discussing investment strategies. Sorry if that looked too friendly for your comfort." "You lied to me about seeing him." "I didn't lie, I just didn't think it was worth mentioning every single business meeting I have." Her phone buzzed again. She ignored it, but I could see the tension in her shoulders. "This is exactly why I didn't want to involve you in the preliminary discussions. You turn everything into some kind of jealousy drama instead of focusing on what actually matters. What actually matters is that you're lying to me about how you're spending our money and who you're spending your time with." She stood up, pacing to the window. When she turned back to me, I saw something in her face I'd never seen before. Cold calculation mixed with something that looked almost like panic. "You know what, Michael? Maybe Richard is right about you. Maybe you are too comfortable being small. Maybe that's why you're still shooting backyard weddings while other photographers your age are building empires. The words hit like a slap, but I felt something settle in my chest, not anger but clarity. Maybe I'd let her take the reins because it was easier than admitting how scared I was to fail alone. But watching her defend another man's opinion of my life made me realize what I'd given up. "Get our money back," I said quietly. "What? Get our money back from Richard's investments, all of it, today." "Michael, that's not how investments work. You can't just—" "Then you figure out how to make it work, because I'm not comfortable with our money being in the hands of someone I don't trust." She stared at me for a long moment. "You don't trust Richard or you don't trust me?" I met her eyes. "Right now I'm not sure there's a difference." Sarah's face crumpled, and for a moment I thought she might cry. Instead, she grabbed her purse and headed for the door. "I'm going to Richard's to discuss this properly," she said, "with someone who actually understands what I'm trying to accomplish." The door slammed behind her, leaving me alone with my laptop and the bank statement that showed exactly how much our relationship was worth to her. $2,500 apparently. The price of whatever Richard Hayes was offering that I couldn't. Sarah didn't come home that night. She texted around midnight, "Staying at Jessica's, needs space to think about us." But when I called her sister the next morning, Jessica sounded confused. "Sarah, no, she's not here. I thought she was with you." I hung up and opened Instagram. Sarah's story from 11 p.m. showed her at some upscale bar downtown, cocktail in hand, with the caption, "Sometimes you need people who believe in your vision, entrepreneur life grateful." The location tag read, "The Meridian Lounge." The same place I'd seen her with Richard. Over the next few days, her social media became a carefully curated narrative of empowerment and success. Photos of business documents spread across cafe tables. Screenshots of motivational quotes about surrounding yourself with people who elevate you. A picture of her laptop screen showing what looked like financial projections, captioned, "Building something beautiful with people who get it, boss babe investment." The comments were predictable, her sorority friends cheering her on. "You're such an inspiration. Get that bag, girl. Some people just can't handle ambitious women." I noticed she'd started following several new accounts. Luxury lifestyle influencers, business coaches, and Richard Hayes, whose profile was exactly what I'd expected: golf courses, expensive watches, and motivational posts about winners and losers. When Sarah finally came home 3 days later, she moved through our apartment like she was visiting a museum. Polite but distant, collecting clothes and toiletries with the efficiency of someone who'd already emotionally moved out. "So this is how we're handling it?" I asked, watching her pack. "Handling what?" She didn't look up from folding her work clothes. "The money, the lying, the fact that you disappeared for 3 days." I needed time to think. She zipped up her overnight bag. "And I've been staying with Jessica, like I said." "Jessica told me she hasn't seen you." Sarah paused, her hand on the zipper. "She must have misunderstood. I've been there every night." The lie came so easily it was almost impressive. "Sarah, I saw your Instagram stories. You were at the Meridian Lounge until at least 11 p.m. So now you're stalking my social media." "I'm trying to understand where my girlfriend has been sleeping for the past 3 nights. She turned to face me, and I saw that cold calculation again. "Maybe that's not your business anymore." "Not my business. We live together. We have a joint bank account that you've been draining. How is it not my business?" "Because maybe this isn't working." She gestured between us. "Maybe Richard is right about us being incompatible." "Richard has opinions about our relationship now. He has perspective. He's been through a divorce, so he knows what it looks like when two people want different things." I felt something shift inside me, not anger but a kind of detached fascination. "And what does Richard think we want different things about?" "Growth, ambition, the willingness to take risks for a better future." She was quoting someone, probably him. "He thinks I'm wasting my potential trying to drag someone along who doesn't want to be elevated." "Elevated. Yes, elevated. Some people are content being small, Michael. There's nothing wrong with that, but I'm not one of those people." I watched her check her phone, saw her face light up slightly at whatever message she'd received. "Is that him?" "It's a business update," she typed back quickly. Richard found another opportunity. Something bigger than the last one. "With whose money?" "With people who understand investment." She shouldered her bag. "I'm going to stay at Jessica's for a while. We both need space to figure out what we really want." "Sarah," I stepped closer. "Just tell me the truth. Are you sleeping with him?" She looked at me for a long moment and I saw something flicker across her face. Not guilt exactly, but something like pity. I'm building something, Michael, something real, and I'm doing it with people who believe in me. She headed for the door. When you're ready to have an adult conversation about our future, let me know. After she left, I sat in our empty apartment and opened my laptop. Her Instagram story had updated. A photo of her hand holding champagne, expensive-looking rings catching the light. The caption read, "Celebrating new beginnings with my business partner, sometimes the universe puts exactly the right people in your path, blessed new chapter." The location tag was gone, but I could see part of what looked like a hotel room in the background. So she wasn't at Jessica S. She wasn't building a company. She was sleeping with Richard Hayes and using our joint account to bankroll the lie. And strangely, I didn't feel heartbroken, not even angry. I felt clear. For the first time in months, I could see exactly what I was dealing with, who she really was, who he really was, and what they thought I wouldn't notice. I didn't touch my camera. I didn't open Lightroom. Instead, I opened a new folder on my desktop and named it one word: restoration. Into it, I dropped screenshots, bank statements, Instagram posts, text records. I started making a list of every client Sarah had spoken to, every transaction that looked suspicious, every false claim she'd made on my behalf. She thought I was the quiet one, the passive one, the one who couldn't think bigger. She mistook patience for weakness. That was her first mistake. Let's see how she handles what happens when I stop giving her the benefit of the doubt and start giving the truth to everyone else. The first email went out at 8:17 a.m. the next morning. Within 2 hours, I had responses from 4 clients. 2 had received Sarah's unsolicited revisions. 1 had already canceled, but after reading my message, asked to rebook. That afternoon, I called my lawyer. I want to file a fraud report and begin the process of recovering misappropriated funds from a joint account. I have documentation. Texts, bank statements, and a list of affected clients. He asked one question. Did she have written authorization to act as your representative? No. Then we have a case. I filed a fraud report with the bank. Then I submitted evidence to 3 wedding forums and local photographer networks where Sarah had spread misinformation. I didn't name her directly. I didn't have to. Screenshots of the fake quotes she sent from my email address, along with timestamps and voice messages she left clients, spoke for themselves. Within 48 hours, the fallout began. Jake texted me, "Bro, you're all over the local group. Everyone's backing you. Someone said Sarah tried to poach their client last week using your name." I didn't respond. I was too busy writing a formal complaint to RH Consulting, at least, the shell of what was left of it. The website was still live, even if the license was defunct. I submitted a takedown request for any content using my name or images, citing unauthorized use of personal branding and fraudulent misrepresentation. That night, I posted a single message to my professional Instagram. I've learned that someone claiming to represent my business has been contacting clients without my consent. If you've received any messages about pricing or cancellations, please contact me directly. I have always, and will always, stand by my work, my word, and the relationships I build through trust. No drama, no hashtags, just truth. The next morning, I woke up to messages from 2 of Sarah's former colleagues, one from her agency days, one from her MBA program. One wrote, "She tried this with another guy 2 years ago, took control of his brand, pitched investors behind his back. He went bankrupt, be careful." The other said, "We warned her about Richard Hayes, guess she didn't listen." I forwarded everything to my lawyer. By day 5, I had reinstated 5 of the 6 lost bookings. The 6th client, Patricia Morrison, called to say her daughter wanted to meet me for an engagement shoot. She said she admired how I'd handled the storm with grace. And then came the phone call I didn't expect. It was from Richard's ex-wife. "I saw your posts," she said. "He used my name the same way. Spun a story about building a brand together while draining everything I had. I tried to warn people, but he always finds someone new to believe in him." "Not anymore," I said. "I still have the court files," she added. "If you're pursuing civil action, I'd be happy to testify." I might be. When I hung up, I added her documents to the restoration folder. That night, I received one final message from Sarah, a voicemail. No greeting, just her voice shaken. "You didn't have to destroy everything. I just wanted to help you see what you could have been. I never meant to hurt you." I didn't respond. because the truth was I didn't destroy anything. She did. I just made sure everyone else saw what I'd already learned. Sometimes the most powerful revenge isn't taking someone down. It's standing back up while they fall. 2 weeks after I closed the joint account, I received an email from a law firm in Chicago. Richard Hayes was being investigated for financial misconduct. Again. This time, the complaint wasn't from an ex-wife. It came from a local investor group he'd approached under a false consulting license. Apparently, one of the firms did their due diligence and found my Instagram post, then contacted me for more information. I sent them everything in the restoration folder: transaction history, fake invoices, screenshots of Sarah quoting exclusive pricing tiers that didn't exist, Richard signing contracts under a dissolved LLC. A week later, I was contacted by a state investigator. "Would you be willing to give a statement?" he asked. "Gladly." Sarah's name appeared in the filings as a non-licensed financial intermediary. Not officially charged yet, but listed as someone who may have knowingly misrepresented financial authority. I didn't push for more. The machine was moving now. Meanwhile, my own business was thriving. The Morrison anniversary shoot led to 4 more bookings. Word about the photographer who shut down a fake consultant and still delivered world-class work had spread. I wasn't just surviving. I was booked solid for 6 months, with clients who appreciated integrity as much as art.